Hare Krishna, I'm back. Okay, so hopefully the synchronization will be better on this. Reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 4, the confidential reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is text 23. Devotional service rendered to me by the living beings revives their eternal life. Oh, my dear damsels of Raj, your affection for me is your good fortune, for it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. So this is Krishna speaking to the gopis in the Bhagavatam, 10th canto. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, Krishna speaking to the gopis, he says, devotional service rendered to me by the living beings revives their eternal life. Oh, my dear damsels of Raj, your affection for me is your good fortune, for it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. Okay, in the previous verse, Prabhupada explains the different types of devotional service. Mixed devotional service, ordinary devotional service, and pure devotional service. So, at the very end of his explanation, there's a small little paragraph here, and he says, flawless execution of regulative principles is exhibited in the Vaikuntha planets. By strictly executing these principles, one can be elevated to the Vaikuntha planets. No, strictly executing these principles. But spontaneous, pure, loving service is found in Krishna loka alone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, the next verse, it's okay now, Freddie says, usually when someone comes live in your video, it creates, yeah, I think that's what it was. Thank you, Freddie. Hare Krishna. There you are. So now, in this next verse, after Prabhupada explains, like Srila Gauri has been telling us, for the last 20 years, that flawlessly executing, perfectly executing regulative principles, the devotee can enter the Vaikuntha planets. But it's only by spontaneous, loving, devotional service that they can go to Krishna loka. So now this verse, Krishnadas Kaviraj quotes Krishna speaking to the gopis. It's from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, and it says, devotional service rendered to me by the living beings revives their eternal life. Okay, either Vaikuntha or Krishna loka, devotional service, revives eternal life. Okay, fine. Now he says, oh my dear damsels of Raj, your affection for me is your good fortune. Because they're on that spontaneous loving platform. He says, your devotional service, you can go to the spiritual, you can get your eternal life. But then he says, oh, but you, my dear damsels of Raj, your affection for me is your good fortune. For it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. The affection that they have, that the devotees have for the Lord, is the only means to attain his favor. Small purport here. Prabhupada says, pure devotional service is represented in the activities of the residents of Rajabhumi, Vrindavan. During a solar eclipse, the Lord came from Dwarka and met the inhabitants of Vrindavan at Shamanta Panchika. The meeting was intensely painful for the damsels of Vrajabhumi because Lord Krishna had apparently left them to reside at Dwarka. But the Lord obligingly acknowledged the pure devotional service of the damsels of Vraj by speaking this verse. Hare Krishna. Text 24. Krishna says, Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. Hare Krishna. Text 25. My friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, What kind of big man are you? You and I are equal. Krishna. 46. There's a long purport on this. This is about the conjugal mood. 26. If my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. Prabhupada's purport. According to the Upanishads, all living entities are dependent on the Supreme Living Entity, the personality of Godhead. As it is said, Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Ekubahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. One eternal living entity supports all the other eternal living entities. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains all the other living entities, they remain subordinate to the Lord, even when joined with Him in the reciprocation of loving affairs. Yeah. See, we were hearing yesterday how when Krishna kills demons, it's not actually Krishna, it's the Vishnu function of Krishna. Krishna is always in this spontaneous loving mood of Vrindavan. Okay? Krishna's the flute player. But when something needs to be done, he can expand or manifest in a certain way just to take care of whatever it is. So, for the killing of the demons, it's the Vishnu expansion. Because killing demons falls under the category of managing affairs. It's kind of like police work, which gets into, management, kshatriya, and maintaining society. Vishnu, the maintainer, will get rid of disturbing elements so that it can be maintained. So that's the Vishnu expansion of Krishna. It's not actually Krishna, because Krishna has nothing to do with management or maintaining or anything like that. Krishna is Krishna. So reading this, we're reading about these different moods of Krishna with his devotees. Mother Yasoda is chastising him. The boys are jumping on his shoulder and taunting him. What mood do you think you are? You think you're so big? What kind of big man are you? Ha ha ha. Jumping on his shoulder. And here, in an amorous relationship, Radharani may be reproaching him or rebuffing him or something. And so in the purport, Prabhupada explains that although Krishna takes a subordinate position, he's always still the maintainer. But that's not actually Krishna. That's, we'd have to say, a Narayan feature of Krishna. A Narayan, because Narayan means give shelter to all living entities. That's what Nara ayana means Nara, ayana. I forget which one is which, but when you break the word down for the name, Nara, I think Nara means all living entities, and ayana means shelter. Narayana, shelter of all living entities. But that's not actually Krishna. That's Krishna's expansion as Narayana. So that's how he can give support to all living entities, and in that sense be their superior and their source. And then as Krishna, he can take a subordinate role for pastimes. He can do that, just like Krishna can be playing the flute, and then his Vishnu feature takes care of the demons and sees to management and maintenance. Hare Krishna. So although he's taking a subordinate position for pastimes, all living entities are actually subordinate to him. But in the course of exchanging transcendental love of the highest purity, sometimes the subordinate devotee tries to predominate over the predominator. One who lovingly engages with the Supreme Lord as if his mother or father sometimes supersedes the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, his fiancée or lover sometimes supersedes the position of the Lord. But such attempts are exhibitions of the highest love. Only out of pure love does the subordinate lover of the Supreme Personality of Godhead chide him. The Lord, enjoying this chiding, takes it very nicely. The exhibition of natural love makes such activities very enjoyable. In worship of the Supreme Lord with veneration, there is no manifestation of such natural love because the devotee considers the Lord his superior. Okay, that's what it is. The Vaikuntha, the Lord is always the superior, and so he doesn't get to take the position of being chastised or reproached or whatever, which he likes because he wants to taste all the different mellows of relationship, and he likes to sometimes to not always be the superior. But in Vaikuntha he can't do that because he's always, his majesty is always present. He's always God. In Vaikuntha, he's always God. You know, he's all that majesty and the opulence and the power, and no one can, he's greater than or equal to him, like that. But that's not Krishna. That's a Vishnu form, Narayana, Vishnu form. So to continue with the purport, regulative principles in devotional service are meant for those who have not invoked their natural love of Godhead. When natural love arises, all regulative methods are surpassed, and pure love is exhibited between the Lord and the devotee. So that's not imitated. You can't imitate that. That would be suicide to try and imitate. It would be ridiculous to try to imitate. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Just because there are counterfeits and imitators, it doesn't mean the real thing doesn't exist. Hare Krishna. Because imitating means there's something to imitate. So when the real thing is there, the real thing is there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Although, on such a platform of love, the devotee sometimes appears to predominate over the Lord or transgress regulative principles, such dealings are far more advanced than ordinary dealings through regulative principles with awe and veneration. Krishna. That's why mostly devotees are very, 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 very careful about this. And because this platform is, Prabhupada says, far more advanced than ordinary dealings through regulative principles with awe and veneration. A devotee who is actually free from all designations due to complete attachment in love for the Supreme exhibits, shows, manifests, because it's obvious, anyone can see, exhibits spontaneous love for Godhead, which is always superior to the devotion of regulative principles. So all of this talk about should never, if you have any, should never show anything. But that's not what this says here. It says they exhibit spontaneous love for Godhead. It's visible. Actually, they can't help it. There's no way to stop it. If it's there, you can't stop it. It is what it is. Just be like stopping breathing. Stop breathing. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, because it flows just like life breath, spiritual energy. When it flows, it's flowing just like life breath. Can't stop it. So it can be seen. It's visible in the way the person behaves, talks, looks, sounds, because it's part of their existence now. Just like breathing. The informal language used between lover and beloved is significant of pure affection. When devotees worship their beloved as the most venerable object, spontaneous sentiments are observed to be lacking. A neophyte devotee who follows the Vedic instructions that regulate those who lack pure love of Godhead may superficially seem more exalted than a devotee in spontaneous love of Godhead. Yeah. So the one who is following the Vedic instructions that regulate someone who lacks love of Godhead, pure love of Godhead, they may speak very formally and very knowledgeably, and everything is just perfectly right. Every T is crossed, every I is dotted. And they're very precise and exact when they speak and very thoughtful. That may be the case. So superficially, they seem more exalted than the devotee in spontaneous love, because the devotee in spontaneous love, Prabhupada says, may speak informally out of pure affection. They may have an informal way of speaking. And so it looks less advanced because it's informal. Because it's intimate and it's spontaneous. But in fact, such spontaneous pure love is far superior to regulated devotional service. Such pure love of Godhead is always glorious in all respects, more so than reverential devotional service rendered by a less affectionate devotee. Hare Krishna, Hare. More knowledgeable in one sense, but less affectionate. So which one wins the race? The knowledgeable or the affectionate? Guess what? It's the affectionate. Comes out a winner every time. Natural affection is the winner. Hands down. All the time. Hare Krishna. So, text 27-28. taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways, unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. Krishna. Prabhupada's purport. Lord Krishna, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, educates his devotees to develop progressively to the stage of pure devotional service. Thus he appears periodically as a devotee to take part in various wonderful activities depicted in his sublime philosophy and teachings. So that's the purpose of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, is, as it says right here, educates his devotees to develop to the stage of pure devotional service. That's the whole idea. And he appears periodically as a devotee. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and in all of them, the Lord accepts the service rendered by his eternal devotees in a reverential mood. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna presents his most confidential pastimes as he enjoys them in his transcendental realm. Such pastimes are so attractive that they attract even the Lord, and thus he relishes them in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, what's Freddie had to say here? I can't see very well, so I'm going to have to put another pair of glasses on. Okay, what's he got to say? Freddie says, for all these different moods of the Lord has his devotees to exchange with. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. It's unlimited too. It's unlimited. The different moods. Each is a unique individual relationship. I mean, there are main categories, but it's like the snowflake thing, you know. They're each one is different. No two the same. Text 29. The influence of Yogamaya will inspire the gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. Yogamaya. Purport. Yogamaya is the name of the internal potency that makes the Lord forget himself and become an object of love for his pure devotee in different transcendental mellows. Huh. Wow. Is that right? The Lord forget himself? Well, I guess he would have to in order to really get into the part, you know. I mean, if he's thinking, I'm God, I'm just pretending I'm Mother Yasoda's child, then, you know, it kind of spoils it. So the Yogamaya covers the devotees, and here Prabhupada's saying actually the Lord himself allows himself to come under the spell of his own internal potency so that he can forget himself and become an object of love. The Yogamaya potency creates a spiritual sentiment in the minds of the damsels of Vraj by which they can think of Lord Krishna as their paramour. The sentiment is never to be compared to mundane, illicit, sexual love. It has nothing to do with sexual psychology, although the pure devotee of such devotees, although the pure love of such devotees seems to be sexual. it has nothing to do with sexual psychology. Although the pure love of such devotees seems to be sexual. One should know for certain that nothing can exist in this cosmic manifestation. It has no real counterpart in the spiritual field. That's a really interesting point because, yeah, I mean, it's like a mirror reflection. It's like backwards, you know. One should know for certain that nothing can exist in the cosmic manifestation that has no real counterpart in the spiritual field. All material manifestations are emanations of the transcendence. The erotic principles of amorous love, reflected in mixed material values, are perverted reflections of the reality of spirit. But one cannot understand the reality unless one is sufficiently educated in spiritual science. Ding. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yeah, that's why we can, by looking at things around us, we can understand at least a little something of the spiritual world. We can, yeah, by seeing it, but we have to know that it's a perverted reflection. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada's discussing about erotic experience, erotic principles of amorous love, the perverted reflections of the reality of spirit. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. But we can't have access to that knowledge or that understanding unless is understand the spiritual science. So this is the spiritual master, is the one who teaches the spiritual science. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You get a bona fide spiritual master and can understand these things. This is a big long purport. I think I'm going to stop here and just let it go for that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So, Govinda. Just going pretty much, like they say, one day at a time. It's pretty much like that. Only, I tell you, it's really down to like taking it a minute at a time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, taking it 1 minute at a time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. I think I'll do a little extra chanting for the next little while. I'll do some chanting. Japa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.